We always love to compare ourselves to others, but the reality is, I've been at a couple other firms. I've seen a few other advisors in practice live with clients. So it's really hard. I don't really know how other advisors operate in front of their clients. I've got a huge amount of respect for a lot of advisors out there just because of, my conversations with them, what I believe their value set is, and their beliefs around providing advice and everything else. But, when they're in the trenches and they're in front of clients, I don't know. And it is really easy when things get uncomfortable to revert back to, well, I'm going to know a lot more about this subject than the client, so I'm not feeling comfortable. So I'll go to a place where I know I'm much more comfortable in, and sort of takes you out of some of those, behavioural finance type things, I guess.
Yeah.
I try to apply them, and whenever we go, through a program with a client, I am always thinking what's going to stop this from being a success? What's going to stop the client from implementing this strategy? What's going to stop the client from sticking to this strategy? It's just about, small practical tips that might help. And wherever I see them being appropriate, I'll try and help the client, give them a bit of guidance. Some of the more common ones I use as an example, obviously there's Pareto's principle, so the 80-20 rule, where you get 80% of your results from 20% of the inputs. Again, not always true, but you can find some parallels, in different domains and how it could work. Another one in Parkinson's law, demand will increase to fill supply.
Mm.
So there are a few that I will consistently use with most clients just to get a bit of an understanding as to why we do certain things and, how we've structured what we do to combat some of that, or to use the human psychology in our favour and, to help us stick to a plan or stick to a budget.
But that's cool, because that background of those principles that you just outlined form a bit of a base, but at least you have a bit of a bedrock, and that's what makes you unique as a financial advisor. And there was a post the other day where someone echoed a previous thought, and it was that as humans, we tend to only have about 10 really good ideas, and we repeat them ad nauseum throughout our life, just over and over, we paraphrase in different ways. But they're still talking 20 years later about the same thing. And it's because they've ingrained some things that have really resonated with them. And that's kind of the composition of who they are, whether they came up with those insights on their own or they took them and repurposed them for their own identity and personality and structure. But that's really cool just to find out that that's kind of your bedrock, and then you work from there.